Okay, we're streaming live on Facebook. We'll get going here in just a few minutes. We make sure that our sound is okay here. Turn me right down on the, all right. Okay, yes, Pomai, hey, let me see if I can get you here, Pomai. You go live with Pomai. All right, let's see if that worked. Say says 3, 2, 1. All right. All right, so we have some feedback here. Let me see if I can get rid of this feedback. Throw my phone around here. Sorry about that. I may have to turn down some volume. Oh, shoot.
You okay, Mitch?
I'm okay, trying to get back on the stand. Oh. Have to turn my camera around. Wait a second, what's going on here? Flip that around that way.
Hi, everybody. While we're getting ready, just want to welcome each and every one of you. It is Thursday already. What? So this is our Thursday Q&A with Mitch Roth. So we're going to go through all of our questions. Thank you so much. And even during this, feel free to send your questions in. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and later on we'll post this on our YouTube as well.
There a second, Pomai. There we go. I'm going to try to put the volume on the phone this time, and so hopefully this works. Are you getting feedback there?
Not on my side.
Okay. I hear a little bit on my side.
Try turning the volume down on your phone, maybe.
Yep. All right.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, it's 6 o'clock on the dot on another Thursday. Today is April 23rd.
April 23rd. Let me just change my phone just a little bit here. All right, there we go. Still hearing a little bit of feedback. Can you see me on that side? Okay, how about the Instagram? Do you see? Huh?
You're looking fresh.
Okay, so the Instagram, I just see half of my face, so I just want to make sure you got the.
Oh, yeah, your Instagram. Put your phone down a little bit.
Yeah, let me get this.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Whew. It's a lot of work.
Not too bad. You'll get used to it.
Yeah. So how you doing, Pomai?
Hanging in there.
Very good. All right, aloha, everybody. So we have some questions this week.
We do. Yeah, we want to welcome everyone once again. If you're on Instagram for the first time, aloha. This is Q&A with Mitch Roth. If you're back again, a big mahalo for coming back again for more. And we want to invite you and encourage you to send in your questions. We'll try to get through each and every one of your questions, whether you are sending it through Instagram, whether you're sending it through Facebook or online at mitchroth.org. We will see it and we will get to it. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. We're still playing with the phone here, but go ahead and ask.
Okay, so the first question comes in from Pauline Spencer, and this is from mitchroth.org.
Okay.
Pauline is asking, once the pandemic is over, what issues will need to be addressed?
Wow, that's a big question. There's a lot of things that are going to be need to address. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Hang on one second here. You still see me on Facebook? I mean, Instagram?
No.
Oh, hang on. I got to come back here. Sorry.
I'm going to try to put my headphones on. Then maybe that will. I don't know.
All right, there I am. You know what? Rico, can you grab my headphones? Oh, we get paused due to bad connection on
Instagram.
Instagram.
All right. It's
There
okay.
we go. We're back again.
Hey, we
So
just
once,
welcome everyone. Yep.
yep. I'm getting a lot of feedback over here on my end. So I'm just going to try to put some speakers into my phone so it stops beeping. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
We
right.
can hear you.
Hopefully we're not getting the feedback over there on Instagram. So once this pandemic is over, there's a lot of issues. First of all, we need to get people back to work. I know there's a lot of people that want to be back at work. There's a lot of stress out there. People need to be, need food, rent. So there's a lot of things that we need to focus on how we do that and where we do that. Once this pandemic is over, there's still a lot of things that are going to kind of hang around because of it. You know, our budgets, both the state budget and the county budgets, need to be looked at. It's not going to be the same. We're going to have to do things completely different than we did before. So we're going to need to listen to people. We're going to need to get people together, and we're going to need to really come back with some solutions. You know, before this pandemic, one of the things that we're looking at is changing the way we do the whole planning process, the permitting process for getting houses. We need to look at infrastructure. We're going to still need to do those things, probably even more so than ever. Because of this pandemic, we may have to start looking at things a little bit differently. We need to start thinking about resiliency. How can we be a resilient island? And so we may need to start focusing on things that keep us going. For example, farming. I saw one of the things dealing with make sure that we have food security. If we don't have food that we can get here, that's a dangerous thing. So we need to start rethinking things, rethinking how we go forward, even with tourism and other things. We need to really do a lot of retooling. Okay.
All right. So the next question we have comes in from Britt. And this also came in through mitchroth.org. And Britt asks, what are your ideas to better handling recycling on the island?
You know, it's an interesting question. Hawaii Island, believe it or not, has one of the best recycling programs in the United States. And people are going, what is he talking about? We've stopped doing that. But up at PTA, Adam Scharf, who runs the PTA recycling up there, has been recognized as, you know, having the best recycling program for a military base in the United States. They recycle, I think, about 70% of everything that comes into PTA, whether it's, you know, meals, whether it's wood, whatever it is. They're taking that and they're reusing it. I think there's some lessons that we need to learn from them. You know, one of the things that's really interesting that's going on right now as we speak, there's a group of kids, people working together, engineers and other people called Next Tech under the Success Factory. And I happen to be on the board of that. And one of the ideas that we are working through right now is something called the fish tank. And what it was, we gave these high school students and middle school students a challenge. So the fish tank kind of works like the Shark Tank, where in the Shark Tank, you come up with these ideas and you sell them to the sharks. The fish tank is something similar. We gave them a problem to solve and they're going to bring them to the judges. The problem that the kids are working through is what do we do with the recycling of plastic on our island? And I think we have about 40 kids that are participating in this. We have a lot of great people that are doing a lot of work. I have to give a lot of thanks to people like Gail Takaki, who's, you know, really running the show. But there's a lot of engineers in town that are helping out. People like Noel Moran, who's, you know, helping out. There's a lot of people that are helping. I think one of the things that we need to do is start looking at some of these ideas. The other thing, when we're looking at rubbish and recycling. Right now, we're hauling a lot of trash over to the other side of the island. I think in the first 100 days of administration, we have to put a request for proposals on how we can do this a lot better moving forward. Hauling trash to the other side of the island doesn't work. So we need to start looking at ways that the county can do things, and we need to get the community more involved in recycling and give them opportunities to recycle. So one of the things that happens at our office is we have a lot of shredded paper. A lot of cases come back. We use that shredded paper at our house for mulch. It looks like we have snow underneath our palm trees, but that's one of the things that we do is we use that shredded paper. We need to look at different ways of doing things.
That's awesome. I was just going to add how it's such a great opportunity for our youth through Fish Tank to be able to be innovative and creative and come up with their own solutions.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with this competition. Is that the teams can win 1,000 for a team of up to 4, and then they can win another 1,000 for a nonprofit of their choice. So that's coming up pretty
cool.
soon.
And what's the name of that plastic? Wasn't he 18 years old? He was the one that invented that plastic project or recycling project somewhere, I don't know, in the middle of the ocean. Do you know?
I'm not sure, but you know, what's really interesting is oftentimes we don't listen to our high school kids, and they have some great ideas. And I think, you know, moving forward, we need to listen to everybody.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to hop back over to last week, Thursday, because we had a couple of questions come in that we missed. And Scott Shiroma asked, would you consider H-Power because our landfills will run out of space?
So H-Power, trash to energy, all those things, we're going to have to take a look at all sorts of solutions. And so I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I think there's some really great possibilities. There's going to be a lot of things that we have to look at. What are we doing to the environment by doing that? But I think with the more recent technologies, I think there's a real possibility that we should be opening our minds up to doing those kinds of things. It's got to be better than hauling rubbish over to the other side of the island.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward, what are your plans to diversify Hawaii Island's economy? What can be done as mayor to support this?
You know, with every adversity, there's always an equal or greater opportunity. And, you know, with this whole COVID issue, we are going to be forced to look at other alternatives and other things to look into. You know, we've put a lot of time and a lot of energy into tourism, and it may not be, it may take us over a year to get back into tourism again. So, you know, I know one of the things that people are asking was in the paper today was maybe we need to rethink tourism. I think we definitely have to go back, and I'll say this again, to make sure that we're resilient, that, you know, we have food security. So we, you know, unfortunately on this island, we have a lot of land that can be used for farming, that could be used to feed our children in our schools, to feed our prisoners in our jails, and we're not doing that. I think we need to relook at agriculture. I think we need to rethink some of the other businesses opportunities where people are coming in looking at Hawaii as a place to set up business. You know, I've said this again and again and again. One of the reasons I am in this race is because I have 3 kids, and my 3 kids are all living on the mainland because they don't have opportunities to do what they're doing here. And so we have to create those opportunities here. So we have to think a little bit differently.
All right. So on that note,
Okay.
being in this race, you mentioned, someone is asking, what sets you apart from the mayors?
What sets me apart from the mayors or the other candidates?
The other mayors.
the other mayors, I'm guessing that's probably
Or mayor. There's an S at the end of mayor.
Okay, I'm guessing it's
but-
the candidates. So I think there's a lot that sets me apart. I think there's a lot of people in this race. First of all, I think there's like 18 now because we want change. And I think that one of the things I bring to this is that I'm an agent of change. I have a career where I've made a whole bunch of changes. I was the first community-oriented prosecutor in the state, the first one here in Hawaii County. I helped start our Weed and Seed initiative. By the way, community-oriented prosecution, let me just talk about what that is. It's like community policing, you build partnerships to solve problems. And so I'm a problem solver, I believe. And in that, I've been able to do a lot of things that other people have said you can't do. So I'll just mention a few of those. For Hoa, we did the Weed and Seed initiative, where we brought communities together to weed out crime and seed in positive social change. Some of that positive social change had nothing to do with being a prosecutor. It had to do with building communities. It had to do with getting jobs. It had to do with retooling the Hoa area. It had to do with things like Shattered Dreams, where we crashed some cars, killed some kids, made a video, and the whole idea was to get kids to rethink about drinking and driving, and had some great successes there. As a prosecutor, I helped start things like Citizens Emergency Response Team. One of the things that kind of frustrates me right now is that we're underutilizing the Citizens Emergency Response Teams, or the CERTs, the first responders before the first responders come in there. I've helped start neighborhood watches, work with neighborhood watches. Visitors Aloha Society, which is an organization that takes care of tourists who are victims of crimes or other kinds of activities. As the prosecutor, I've started the first restorative justice program in the United States in a prosecutor's office. Things that they said couldn't be done. Cold cases that couldn't be done, we've done those. We started a sex assault team, we got grant funds. One of the things that I think differentiates me from the other candidates is most of the other candidates have no idea on how government works. There's a few there. One of the things that's going to happen is that people are going to need to obtain money, and a lot of that's going to be applying for and getting grants. In the last year, I've had several millions of dollars come to the prosecutor's office because we were able to apply for and actually obtain competitive grants. So I think one of the things that differentiates me from a lot of them is that I have a history of following through and making positive changes. I understand the law as an attorney. I think there's only one other person who's an attorney. That's going to be very important as we go through things in the future. And so I see things a little bit differently. I'm not, one side or another. I'm just trying to do what's best for the community. I think most of the other candidates have the same or a love for this island to make change. And I think that's really what we need to do, is we need to make some really big changes, and we're going to need to do them really quickly. And that's going to mean that we're going to have to look at things differently. And that's how I do things.
That's a great answer. Whether it was directed to candidates or mayor, I think that's a great answer. So thank you. Okay, so the next question comes from our email.
Okay.
And the question is, mitchroth.org. How will you bring together the different communities on Hawaii Island in this time of COVID?
During COVID? That's a great question. And I think we have to really understand that this is a big island. It's not just Hilo. It's not just Kona. It is the entire big island. So we have Puna, we have Ka'u, we have Kohala, Waimea, Waikoloa, Hamakua. We need to be together. And, one of the changes that we're going to need to do during this time is we need to get everybody's voice and input. There's a lot of organizations that are doing a lot of things. And, I'll give some kudos also to the current administration. They are getting out and getting some information out there and doing a lot of good things. We need to capitalize on those. We need to capitalize on technology. We're doing these Zoom things and Facebook things and Instagram and YouTube. We need to get more people involved because not everybody has these capabilities. And so during this time, I think for me, I would be utilizing our certs a little bit more. I would be using our neighborhood watches a little bit more to get out there and get people more involved. Now, you got to be very careful because you don't want people, passing a virus around, but there's way that you can get these people on the phones and doing a lot of work for a lot of really good things.
Can you
And
just
sharing
tell us
information.
what, in case someone doesn't know what CERT is?
CERT is a Citizens Emergency Response Teams.
All right. So the next question comes in also from MitchRoth.org. And again, we want to welcome everyone. It is Aloha Thursday with our Q&As with Mitch Roth here. So we encourage you, we invite you in, and also invite you and encourage you to ask your questions, whether it's via Instagram or Facebook. We are live right now. Also, MitchRoth.org. You can go to our website. We have a lot of great, useful information for you, and you can ask us questions there as well.
And let me just explain to people what I'm seeing. I'm seeing actually what you're seeing. So Pomai is asking me questions. Now I have a phone over here that I can kind of, if I squint and I get up, I can see that there's questions being asked, but I have a hard time seeing those questions on the phone and Instagram. I think Pomai actually has a better ability over there to see some of those things. So if we don't answer your questions this week, please go on to mitchroth.org or onto Facebook and ask the questions, because I don't want to miss questions. But they're just coming to me kind of like as she asks them, as you ask them. And so I'm trying to answer them as best as I can, as honestly as I can, and as transparently as I can. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to try.
All right. So this next question comes in through mitchroth.org. The question is, Ross Birch, the executive director of Island of Hawaii Visitors Bureau, talked recently to the county council about starting up a new type of tourism here in Hawaii, or on Hawaii Island. Do you think the island can start something new, or are we tied to the current setup of bringing as many visitors in as possible?
It's like, first of all, I have a lot of respect for Ross and what he's doing. And I think the question's a really great question. If we keep on doing what we've always done, we're going to keep on getting where we've always gotten. And, that may have been working for some people, wasn't working for everyone. The other thing is with the change, we're going to have to do something different. I mean, if we want to be an island that has a good quality of life, we're going to have to do something different. I think it's going to take about a year before our tourism is even close to coming back to where we want it to be. People are out of their jobs. It's going to be a have and have not. So I think we're going to have to do something different. And, even before this, we were thinking about ways that we could do things a little bit different. For example, agritourism. We have great agriculture here. We have some really neat things going on, whether it's with what's going on with flowers and plants, or chocolate, some really exciting stuff happening with chocolate. We have some really exciting stuff happening with permaculture, with coffee, there's a lot of different things. So agritourism is one. I think, Hawaii has been known for hula. This island is, it's got a great history in hula, the Merry Monarch that we just passed through, but Merry Monarch is only a 1 week of the year. And unfortunately, and really unfortunately, we missed out on that year. We should be looking at, making the Hawaiian culture, hula, something that is a draw and have people understand, each other. I think that is an opportunity that we have right now. So the ability to bring in higher paying tourists, I think that is also going to be something that we need to look at. But let's give them a unique experience, and I think we have that ability. And I actually don't think we're not going to have the ability in the near future to do things like we did in the past. I think we're going to have to make some changes.
Change is good.
Change is good.
All right, so this next question comes in through mitchroth.org. If people on the mainland own a second home in Kona, will they be allowed to come here in May?
That's a funny question because they can come here now. The way the law is, or the way the proclamations go, if they come, they just have to do a quarantine for 14 days. And, you know, there's different opinions on that, but that's what the law is right now. A lot of people have asked me during the week is why can't the governor just stop all flights coming into Hawaii? The governor does not have that ability. Okay, and the mayor doesn't have that ability either, by the way.
All right, next question comes in through mitchroth.org. This is from George. George is asking, the COVID virus appears to be like the flu virus, which comes around annually. How will you as mayor deal with COVID-20 when it comes back in December of this year?
George, first of all, I hope it doesn't come back. Hopefully we get this thing under control and it doesn't. However, there is a good possibility. Listen to the CDC. They talked about that happening. I think right now we're learning a lot of lessons, some positive lessons and some negative lessons. We have to capitalize on those things that are working and those things that are not working. And you know, I think the jury's still out on a lot of that. I think there's some real possibilities. I like to be an optimist. I know that there's a couple of treatments that are in the works. I'm watching something in Israel. They have something. And I don't know if you saw the Netflix series Pandemic, but the guy, Jacob Glanville from Distributed Bio, a lot of news on something that they've come up with, which is an antibody treatment. And they are going through treatments. They have a lot of hope in that. If that works out, they're thinking that by September, they could have an antibody treatment that may really bring an end to the need to do a lot of the things we're doing. Let me just explain. There's a difference between a vaccine and an antibody. I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn one time. And I've watched a lot of these things. That antibody takes about 6 to 7 weeks to take effect. They're saying the antibody treatment takes about 10 minutes before it starts taking effect in your body. And so people coming into the hospitals, if you have a cure for that, what they're saying is that takes away, you know, the whole game. Antibody treatments have been used in the Ebola crisis. That went from 50% of the people dying to 94% living. According to what this guy is saying, it's what they do for like the rabies. It's like a rabies vaccination kind of thing, not a vaccination, but a rabies treatment. So there are things that can be done that they are doing. Hang on, I gotta give you the opportunity to go live with me again. So hopefully by next year, I'm hopefully that we have a treatment and we are in a different situation than we are right now. But I think we have to look at the lessons that we're learning right now. We've made a lot of mistakes, and hopefully we don't make those mistakes. Okay.
So the next question comes from Tim McGivern.
Tim McGivern.
He wants
Honolulu prosecutor.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, Tim wants to know that if you were to win the $10 million Publishers Clearinghouse Sweepstakes, would you pay off his student loans?
So this is a joke that we had. I don't know. I told him, you know, if I win the lottery, Tim, I'll pay off your student loans. About 20 years ago, he has not let me live that down. So Tim, if I win the lottery or the Publishers Clearinghouse, which I'm not enrolled in, yes, I'll pay off your student loans.
So this next question comes in through mitchroth.org. And again, we want to say aloha to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And we encourage you, we invite you, send in your questions. And if we don't get through your questions tonight, we'll be right back here next week, Thursday, again, 6 p.m. via Instagram and Facebook. So the next question comes in through mitchroth.org. Question is, how is homelessness being impacted during this time?
That's a really interesting question. There's a lot of things happening with homelessness, as we saw at the NAS pool. The fire department this weekend built some tiny houses. There's a lot of work that Hope Services is doing to make some changes. We've actually had a couple of sweeps, which have been really interesting. There's one of my fears is that you let these people out of jail, and a lot of people, been calling me asking about the jail situation, people being let out of jail. My fear is that if the courts let homeless people out, they're going to infect another group that puts us in danger. I can tell you that a lot of people are hungry. They did a feeding last week through the food bank, and there's like 600 people there, and I heard the last group of people that waited for hours didn't have enough food. So there's a lot of great feeding programs that are going on. I love to mention the Boys and Girls Club. I sit on the board, and I'm so proud of the work that Chad and all of them are doing. They're doing about 700 meals a day during the week. I know the schools are doing some great feedings. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening with homelessness, and it's actually a lot of work going into it.
So this next question comes from Tina at mitchroth.org. Tina is asking, Mitch, folks are enjoying walking and biking now while the roads are less busy. Bike, pedestrian infrastructure is needed around the island. Absolutely. On a related note, the Vision Zero action plan is almost ready for prime time. Can we include it in the plan to open Hawaii Island?
That's Tina Clothier from PATH, I know, asking that question, I'm guessing. Hi, Tina. I think that's a great idea. We need to really work on our infrastructure. A couple of years ago, we had a very terrible crash where a police officer killed a cyclist, and unfortunately, part of that I think had to do with the roads, and we really need to improve our infrastructure. Now's a great time to be looking at those kinds of things. As we come out of this COVID, as we, was kind of asked earlier, we need to look at bringing back the economy. And one of the things is we're going to need to look at putting those people in our construction industry back to work. That's a big part of it. And roads are something that really needs to be paid attention to, not just for cycling, but Kona has some terrible traffic problems that we really need to work on that in Kona, but in other places on the island. Going from the upper road to the lower road of Lee Drive, we need to probably get some more thoroughfares in there. So yes, the path, I like the ideas that Vision Zero has. I sat on that task force.
So Sean Kama is asking, what would be your idea to boost the Big Island's economy to benefit the residents of Hawaii?
So, there's a lot of things that we need to do. I think one of the first things that we need to do is we need to start sitting down and talking to people and really hearing what they believe makes this island great. There's a lot of shovel-ready jobs that are going to be needed to be worked on. So that's going to be a lot of building stuff. I think, again, going back to making sure that not only our economy comes back, but that we are resilient for future things that happen. So we're able to feed ourselves. So we need to look at agriculture, making sure that we have food, not only for our island, but things that we can sending off. We need to make sure that we have jobs, and we need to make sure that we have good jobs. We can't just say no to everything. You know, unfortunately, our biggest export right now is our children. And we need to make sure that we have jobs for them.
So Jeannie is asking, it's great that the Salvation Army and Boys and Girls Club is sponsoring dinner at Salvation Army, but social distancing is very important to maintain. How is that issue being addressed?
So the Boys and Girls Club is actually delivering meals. So the meals are being made at the Boys and Girls Club kitchen and some other kitchen, and then they're working with a bunch of volunteers and Hope Services, and those meals are going out to people and they're being delivered. I just saw something on Instagram. I didn't get the whole thing, but something about flattening the curb. I don't know if you.
At that location, it is a crucial issue to address in order to flatten the curve.
Oh, so same question.
Curve.
Okay.
The curve.
Yeah, so they're not doing it at that location. They're doing it at a whole bunch of places, including bringing food to Kapuna's houses and stuff.
All right.
I know they've gone to Milla and Kona, and you know, I'm so proud of what the Boys and Girls Club is doing, because it's not, again, just in Hilo. It's all over the island that they're making sure that people are getting food. Now, by the way, I just take a little break. The Moa Kitchen this week, they did a free ramen with chicken giveaway for anybody that drove up. It's like 3 to 3:45. They gave away 400 meals. People pulling up in their cars, and I just want to give a shout out to them. I got a chance to go out and help out feeding people over in Waimea. It was really, really cool, and I can't wait until we're able to go eat in restaurants again, because that's a place I'd like to go.
Awesome. All right, this next question comes in through our mitchroth.org. And the question is, how would you overcome government bureaucracy, red tape, and or streamline government processes? Procurement.
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 Oh, thank you for that question. You know, one of the big problems that I've seen, and this is, again, I've talked about this in the past, is that our procurement contracts are contracts. And so we get to negotiate terms of those contracts. We get to make the contracts. And an example, I use this again and again and again. We bought several computers, not hundreds of computers, but several computers this year. We bought in bulk. And because of the county's procurement contract, we ended up paying more than I could have got a single computer on Amazon. And so one of the big things you need to do with the procurement contracts is you need to have a good contract and good terms in that contract. And you need a good attorney to look over those things and put in things like, you know, if we can get it for 10% cheaper, then this contract does not apply. So I think that's one of the things that we need to do. We need to rewrite some of our contracts. And that way the county can save a lot of money.
So Shannon is asking, can you discuss the latest on the release of prisoners and how new and ongoing cases are being handled with the prosecutor's office?
Okay, sure. So actually today, the special master did another report, and what's been happening with prisoners, people really don't understand how this works. There's several different layers. The first layer was we looked at releasing the petty misdemeanors and misdemeanor low-level crimes for things like traffic offenses and the lesser things. And so we had a group of names. We also saw an opportunity because of the COVID of having people going in and out of jail on intermittent jail terms, that we asked the courts to halt the intermittent and put the jail terms on the back. So let me just explain intermittent again. Intermittent says you may be sentenced to 6 months in jail, but you're going to do it a week at a time, or you're going to do on the weekends. And so you're in a week, out a week, in a week, out a week. And so he said that doesn't make sense because that puts our jails at risk. Then we had the whole issue of probation, which is what this latest order talked about for felony offenses other than burglaries, robberies, rapes, and and those kinds of things. And so we started looking at some of the lower levels because we were told that we needed to reduce the numbers by the Supreme Court. And what they've done in other states is they've released people en masse. And we did not want to do that because it would make our community unsafe. And so we started looking at cases that we could stipulate, and there would be various stipulations, and we had several of these stipulations where the person would be released and come back at the end of the COVID and do the rest of their term. That's another set. There's another set that deals with those cases that we didn't agree to. And in those cases, there's motions. And generally those motions we're objecting to. Some of the times we win, some of the times we lose. And if we lose, then the judge will release them. Sometimes they're releasing them to come back and finish their sentence. Sometimes they're releasing them and keeping them on probation. Then there's also cases where people are on parole, where the parole board is deciding that. And then finally, there's also cases of new arrest where people are coming before the judge and it's an argument for bail, and it's a COVID argument that they're making. And sometimes the courts maintain bail, sometimes the courts release the people on either supervised release or ROR. We've had several different things that we believe should be mandatory terms. One of the mandatory terms that we believe is that we shouldn't be releasing people that don't have a residence where they're going to stay and be quarantined for the month. It's follow through with the stay-at-home orders. We believe that everybody else needs to follow through with those, and people being released. So that's one of the things that we've been fighting for. We've been objecting to homeless people for that very reason. If they're homeless and they don't have a place to stay, they're going around to other places and they're endangering other people. So that's kind of what we've been working on. And it's not a one thing. A lot of people are confused about, well, these are all people that the prosecutors are releasing. That's not true. There are some cases where we've agreed to and made stipulations where they're going to come back. But generally, it's being left up to the courts and the parole board to make those decisions on who gets released. Okay.
All right. So we want to welcome you again. If you are joining us for the first time, aloha, and we encourage you and we invite you, we welcome you to our Thursday Q&As right here with Mitch Roth. You can ask us questions and he'll address and answer your questions. We'll do the very best to get through all of our questions. And Mitch, did you watch the NFL drafts today?
I did not. I was at work today. It was another busy day at work, so I missed the drafts. Anything exciting happen?
Tua Vailoa.
Okay.
Am I saying that right? Tua. Yeah, he got drafted to the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, here's a. That is my favorite team. I'm sorry.
Are you serious? Are you just saying that just because Tua got drafted, or is that?
Oh no! If you're a Dolphins fan, it's kind of hard to admit that you're a Dolphins fan. I mean, they haven't done great in many years. So,
okay,
I'm a secret Dolphins fan.
Going back to our questions, this one comes off of Facebook. If elected mayor, what are you going to do about crimes in Puna?
So, it's very interesting. A lot of people think that the mayor or even the prosecutor has a lot to do with crimes, well, in an area. I think one of the things that the mayor does have is he has a little bit of oversight over the police department. And, part of what we've tried to do is we've tried to do a lot of neighborhood watch groups out there. We have different task force out there that have worked on things. There are crimes in Pune. There's crimes in a lot of other places. The police, the way they're arranged, they have, I think, about 8 officers on it in Pune at any one time. And I know that one of the things that we have looked at is increasing the number of officers that cover the area of Pune. Unfortunately, Pune has some of the worst social economic factors, poverty and stuff like that. Before this, we're looking at the Alice report. People who are living one paycheck away from disaster. Pune had some of those things, and those are some determinative factors of crime. I think that there is a really good case to have more officers in Pune. But yeah, that's it's not an easy question to say, oh, we're going to just do this. One of the things we did in the past, we were very successful, was weed and seed, and I'd like to see those initiatives put back on the table. When we did weed and seed in Pahoa, we had one of the most successful weed and seed sites in the nation. Matter of fact, I got a chance to go teach around the nation on problem solving for what we did in Pune. And it was really interesting. When we started working in Pahoa, people told us it's never going to work in Pahoa because those people can't even look in the same direction. What we did is we had everybody at some meetings, and one of the things everybody could agree on was the safety of their kids. And the reason why we were so successful in Pune with Pahoa weed and seed wasn't really so much what we did on the law enforcement side. It was what we did on the community side and getting the community to work together. I think for Pune and for other places, as I think through this question and I answer it, what we need to do is we really need to get the community more involved, give them a voice, and have them play a more active role.
I agree.
And I think that is something that the mayor can do.
I agree. All right, since that question was about Pune, I will ask you this next question. This comes from Michael off of Facebook. He says, Ikaika Marzo is a great guy, but not mayoral material. What role could you provide him in your administration?
It's interesting. As with some of these other candidates, I'm friends with Ikaika. I think he is, a good guy. And I don't know what role he would be interested in. And so I don't want to go there, but I've seen some good things that he's done. He's got a lot of energy. He's done a lot of help, especially during the lava crisis. I know he did some good things with the hub. So I don't know what I would, if he'd even be interested in being involved in the government.
All right, this next question comes in from mitchroth.org. How can we as a community support our public students who have had their valuable education so abruptly disrupted?
Wow. We talked a little bit about Next Tech and the Success Factory. What I really love about the concept, and again, this is work of a lot of people that I just get to tag on a little bit and be on the board of this one. But what I really love about what's going on with Next Tech is that we have a lot of mentors from the community. We have some of our best engineers on the island helping to mentor kids. We have doctors, we have astronomers, we have people in different professions that are giving their times and helping the kids. And one of the things that was told to me recently was that Waikea High School, and I'm going to kind of bring this around, Waikea High School has one of the highest rates of kids going into the Johnny Burns School of Medicine. And they asked me what I thought that was that made that happen. And one is we have great teachers at Waikea, but we have great teachers around the island. We have a lot of really loving teachers that are around. But one of the things I see at Waikea that's really outstanding is the amount of organizations and people that do things with that school. So just to name a few, they got the Leos, they have Kiwanis, they have JA, they have, Next Tech is in there, they have Rotaract. There's a lot of outside things that people are doing with the kids that are showing them that they have purpose and that they can do things. We do internships with them. I would love to see that at all of the schools to help our kids succeed, because our kids are our future and we all need to be working together with them. So I think it's getting the community involved to help them out, and getting those businesses and those other things to pitch in. And I think they want to do it too.
All right, so the next question comes off of Facebook. Mitch, your experience has been well documented. Thank you for your ongoing service. How can you update our county processes, such as filing out forms online, less paper and more electronic documentation, training staff to new computer programs, and bringing more technology into government, a county government?
I think one of the greatest lessons learned during this whole COVID episode is that we are not technologically up to speed. There's a lot of things that we need to do. I mean, not so much. I mean, with county, I'm thinking about county government, but I'm thinking more. Thing that really comes to mind. It's not a county government thing. It's people who are filing for unemployment. And you heard the Department of Labor guy the other day talking about how antiquated their systems are. This epidemic brings some opportunities. And I can tell you right now with our courts, we're starting to have conversations about doing Zoom, WebEx kind of courts. I think we have to have more of these opportunities for whether you're doing your planning. I mean, it shouldn't take, don't get me started with the permitting process. It shouldn't take more than a week to do a permit. We should be technologically up to speed where it goes from one place to another and we get that out quickly. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I look forward to talking to people who are a little bit more technologically savvy than I. But I believe we can do it, and I see it happening already. We're doing things out of necessity now that we never thought we'd be doing it. We're doing this on 3 different platforms while I look at one computer. That's something that we never thought about 6 months ago. So.
Right. Absolutely, I agree. All right, so we just have a couple more questions. Once again, we want to invite you again to keep sending in your questions. If we don't get through your questions tonight, we'll definitely get through your questions next week, Thursday. We are here every Thursday, 6 p.m. live on Instagram and on Facebook. So welcome, and aloha, mahalo for taking the time to connect and spend some time with us here. So this next question comes in through Facebook. Joe Belisario is asking.
Hey, Joe, I can hear you this week.
In some cases, mayor-appointed directorships are allowed via policy making or rulemaking that is enacted as code without public hearing or county council approval, essentially legislating from their chairs.
Yes.
In some cases, the director policies are in direct conflict with the written code and procedures. What are your thoughts on this current process?
I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in the building and permitting process, planning and permitting process, is that there's an ability to interpret, and we've chosen to interpret in the most restrictive means rather than the least restrictive means. And this has really impacted our ability to do business on this island. I think that we need to look at things, and I'm a lawyer, so I go by the letter of the law. What does the law say? And if you're speeding, for example, and you go 1 mile over the speed limit, technically that's a violation, but that's not something that we'll prosecute. We'll call that de minimis. But I see, when I was building my house, I saw some things that were really menini and de minimis that held up work, which cost a lot of money. I see that happening with some of our projects dealing with affordable housing. We have a shortage of affordable housing on this island. We have kids that can't afford to live here, and that's crazy. So I think that is one of the easiest problems to fix, and that's one of the things I do plan on fixing right away, is how we interpret things. And it shouldn't be that if you go to one side of the island, you get one interpretation. If you go to the other side, you get another interpretation. Or if you go to a different person in one of these offices, you get a different interpretation. That's crazy. And unfortunately, that's one of the biggest complaints I hear, and one of the easiest things to set straight. And I think that is really one of the things, and I'm sorry, I'm getting get emotional here. I think that is really one of the things that we really need to fix. And especially now going forward, when we have people that need to be working. Mm-hmm. And so we can't be doing things the way we've always done them, because what we got sometimes isn't really the greatest.
All right, next question. Just a couple more questions.
Okay.
Nicole from Facebook. Public transportation on Hawaii Island has completely languished for the past decade, and no visible progress has been made on implementing plans for expansion. As mayor, where would you rank public transit on your list of priorities? And can you articulate why it is important?
Okay, so it's very high on my list of priorities, probably in the top 5. And one of the things that's driven me crazy this year is that we've had several times where our buses weren't running, and they were not so much during the COVID period, but when we had kids that needed to get to school, when we had a workforce in Kona that couldn't get there because the routes were canceled. People need to work. We're going to need to get people back to work. Hopefully, we'll be safe as far as COVID and social distancing and things like that. But we're really going to need to do some major renovations there and get our people moving.
All right, last question from Jolene. Hawaii has a reputation as being an anti-business state. Any suggestions on how to encourage businesses to invest in Hawaii, thus resulting in job growth, economic opportunities?
I want to go back to the question that Joe brought up before about this ability to interpret the way the law is. And one of the reasons I think that we're seen as so anti-business is that the way the laws are interpreted sometimes it's an interpretation that we're giving. The other thing is, I think that's one of the bigger issues. So I think we need to get to a black and white. This is what the law says. This is how it's interpreted. Not different on different days. I've seen things where there's been things that have been shared with me where we've changed our minds on how we're interpreting the law without the law being changed several times within a 1 month period. And we can't be doing that. It should be black and white. This is how we're going to do it. And we have to be consistent. And I think that's really important. One of the things we're seeing with the COVID issue is our messaging between the different islands is inconsistent. The messaging sometimes appears what you can do, what you can't do is inconsistent. We need to be consistent with our message, and that's how you bring your economy back. And I think that's what we have to do.
Great way to wrap up our Q&A, Mitch.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to remind everybody, we still have masks that we're happy to give you. We want people to be able to follow the law. So if you go to mitchroth.org, I think it's in the COVID section, you request masks, we will try to get them out to you. This is what they look like. Moving forward, I think everybody wants to eventually get back to work. I think that we're going to have a new normal, and I think that new normal will be that people will be wearing masks when they're going out, even after this emergency period. So we're happy to give them to you for free as long as supplies last on the Big Island. We've given away several already. Had the pleasure of going up to the Hilo Hospital and giving the ICU unit. They asked for 50 masks. We gave them some. We were able to give Hope Services. They're going to give to the homeless. I know they may not be seen as the greatest voters, but we want everybody safe and we want everybody healthy. Going Home Consortium, we gave a bunch of masks to several individuals, several different organizations. We want to give them away. So go to mitchroth.org. And again, the masks aren't so much to keep you safe, it's to keep everybody else safe. And if we just think about this, who are we doing it for? Because we all have loved ones that we want to keep safe. So Malama di Ohana, wear a mask. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Pomai, I want to thank you for doing this, and everybody that's helping us get this done. So I don't know, are we still on? And do we lose?
What happened with that? Yeah.
Oh, I think we ended. So I guess we ended on there. So I guess we'll end on here.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much again. And we encourage you, we invite you to keep sending in your questions. Next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. right here. Mitch Roth will address your questions. Have an amazing night and a great weekend. And we'll see you next week, Thursday.
All right. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha.
Take care. Aloha.